Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. They say love dies quietly, slowly, like a candle burning through its last inch of wax. But in my case, it didn't fade. It cracked. It started with little things. How Claire's phone suddenly needed to charge in the other room. How laughter returned to her voice only when she was texting someone else. We used to fall asleep tangled in each other's arms. Now she turned to the edge of the bed, scrolling under the covers. I told myself I was imagining it. After all, every couple hits rough patches. We'd built our life in Boston from nothing. Me working late as a software consultant, her chasing promotion after promotion in marketing. We were the solid couple our friends envied. The kind people said would last forever. But forever was shrinking fast. The week before it happened, she started humming again, some upbeat tune I didn't recognize. She wore brighter lipstick, bought new dresses she claimed were for client dinners. And her perfume, it lingered in the air long after she left, sharp and foreign. One evening, she came home flushed with excitement, eyes bright like a teenager hiding a secret. "Guess what?" she said, holding up her phone. "The company's sending me to Vegas for a 3-day leadership conference." She said it too casually, like she wanted me to believe it before I had reason to question it. Vegas. I laughed. That's a lot of leadership for a place with slot machines. She grinned, swatting my arm. "It's work, Liam. Don't start. It's all professional." Professional. That word sat heavy in my chest. That night, she packed with unusual enthusiasm. Matching outfits, heels I hadn't seen in years. She even painted her nails crimson. When I asked if she needed help, she said softly, "You've done enough for me already." Something about that sentence hurt more than it should have. She left the next morning before sunrise, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Don't worry about me." It wasn't a goodbye. It was a warning I didn't recognize yet. I tried to focus on work, but my thoughts drifted. The silence in our home was thick, filled with every question I'd buried for months. I checked my phone more than I cared to admit, half hoping she'd text, half hoping she wouldn't. That evening, I scrolled through social media out of boredom. Then I saw a post that made my pulse throb. A man named Derek Collins, one of her coworkers, had uploaded a photo tag, "Team Night, Vegas Vibes." There, behind him, was Claire, laughing, poolside, sunglasses on, drink in hand. No name tag, no conference room, and most painfully, no wedding ring. My stomach tightened. My first instinct was denial. Maybe it was an old picture. Maybe she just forgot to wear the ring. Then my second instinct kicked in, the quiet, surgical calm of someone who's finally seeing the truth. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I just left one comment beneath Derek's photo. "Tell Claire her husband says hi." 10 seconds later, the photo disappeared. Her account went private, and that's when everything inside me went still. She played her game. Now it was my turn. The next morning, the sun came up like nothing had changed, except everything had. Claire's side of the bed was cold, untouched, her pillows still fluffed just right. I poured coffee for 2 out of habit, then stood there, staring at the empty chair across from me. It wasn't grief I felt. It was clarity, the kind that arrives too late, but burns just as bright. Her text came at 8:07 a.m. sharp. "Morning, babe. Super busy day. How's home? Miss you." Miss me? That line almost made me laugh. She was probably sending it while lounging in a hotel robe, pretending to network. I typed back slowly, "All good here. Take care of yourself." Short, cold, just enough to keep her comfortable. I wanted her guard down when I hit back. At work, I could barely focus. My colleague, Aaron, noticed my distraction. "You look like you haven't slept," he said. "Didn't," I replied. "Just thinking." He raised an eyebrow. "About Claire." I didn't answer, but my silence said enough. Aaron sighed. "Man, I told you. Something's off about that woman. She flirts like it's a reflex. You deserve better." It wasn't news to me, but hearing it from someone else was gasoline on the fire already burning inside me. I went home early that evening, poured myself a glass of whiskey, and opened my laptop. The part of me that once trusted her was gone, replaced by something sharp, calculating, and quiet. I opened our shared cloud drive first. She always saved work presentations there. Maybe she'd slipped up. After 10 minutes, I found a folder she'd recently renamed Client Pitch Materials. Inside, photos. Not the kind you show clients. There were pool pictures, dinners, smiling faces, her and Derek side by side. Arms too close, bodies too familiar. One shot nearly stopped my heart. She was leaning in to whisper something to him, her hand on his chest, the same way she used to touch me when she wanted to get her way. The timestamp read yesterday, 11:43 p.m. My jaw tightened. I closed the folder, exhaled slowly, and stared at my own reflection in the dark screen. I'd been faithful, loyal to the bone, the kind of husband who never missed anniversaries, who fixed the sink at midnight, who brought her lunch to the office because she forgot again. And this is how she repaid it. I wasn't impulsive. I'd learned long ago that real revenge isn't loud, it's patient, and it's permanent. I spent the next 2 days acting like everything was normal, texting her good morning, asking about her meetings, pretending I still believed her. Every fake, love you, she sent was one more nail in her own coffin. Meanwhile, I started preparing. I gathered every screenshot, every timestamp, every message. Then I reached out to one of my clients, Rachel Meyer, a divorce attorney I'd helped build a website for last year. I sent her an email titled, "Need professional advice," discreetly. Rachel called within the hour. "Liam, talk to me. What's going on?" I told her everything. No embellishment, no emotion, just facts. When I finished, she was silent for a few seconds before saying softly, "You've got enough evidence for infidelity. Do you want me to start drafting paperwork?" "Not yet," I said. "I want her to come home first. Let her think everything's fine." Rachel paused. "You're planning something, aren't you?" "Let's just say," I replied, "I want her to learn the meaning of loss before I sign anything." When Claire landed back in Boston 3 nights later, she looked radiant, sun-kissed, smiling, suitcase in hand. "Hey," she said brightly, hugging me at the door like she hadn't been cheating 2 days ago. "Missed you so much." Her perfume was stronger again. So was my disgust. I forced a smile. "Missed you too." I took her bag, pretending nothing was wrong. That night, we had dinner together, takeout from her favorite Italian place. She told stories about long workshops, about keynote speakers, and networking dinners. Every word out of her mouth was a lie wrapped in laughter. I nodded, sipping my drink, watching the way her lips curved when she talked. The same lips that probably said Derek's name 100 times that week. When she excused herself to shower, I quietly checked her phone on the counter. She'd changed her passcode. Of course she had. But what she didn't know was that our home Wi-Fi synced every connected device automatically. Her photos were already uploading to our shared drive. By the time she came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her latest selfies, one of her holding a drink beside Derek's hand, the corner of his face visible in the reflection of her sunglasses. "Something wrong?" she asked, pretending to be casual. I looked up calm. "Not at all," I said. "Just checking out how productive Vegas was." Her smile faltered. "Excuse me." I turned the laptop so she could see the photo. Her breath hitched. For a moment, she just stood there, silent, frozen. Then she started the act. "Liam, it's not what it looks like." I raised a hand. "Don't insult me with cliches." Her eyes darted to the screen again, panic setting in. "Please, can we just talk about this?" "Oh, we will," I said quietly. "But not tonight." Because tonight wasn't for screaming. It was for planning her downfall. And I already knew exactly where to begin. For 2 days, I moved like a man asleep with one eye open. Everything automatic, everything precise. I made coffee, fixed the leaky faucet, smiled when she told me about keynote panels she led. I folded my shirts like nothing had shifted in our world. But underneath that ordinary rhythm, I was building something irrevocable. I met Rachel on a rainy Tuesday. Her office smelled of lemon cleaner and old paper. Comforting, practical. She didn't bat an eye at the mess of screenshots and timestamps I laid on her desk. She skimmed, nodded, and tapped the folder closed like an adjudicator reading a case file. "This is clean," she said, voice steady. "Photos with timestamps, flight receipts, the phone numbers, everything is traceable. If you want HR or the company's legal team to act, this will make them act. If you want a divorce, this is more than enough for evidence. How public do you want this?" Her question cut through me. I'd rehearsed the answer 1,000 times in my head. and each time it sounded colder than the last. Not public, I said finally. Not viral. I don't want the world gawking. I want consequences that hurt the way betrayal hurts. Personal and permanent. Rachel agreed. Companies hate scandal. They'll move fast if you present this to the right person. Her direct supervisor, the head of HR, or legal. But it has to be framed professionally. No threats, only facts. Leave emotion out of it. Let the paperwork do the work. So that's what we did. Rachel drafted an email that read like an audit, not an accusation. She attached the photos, the call logs, and a short note. Potential breach of company conduct, requesting an internal review. She sent it to Claire's boss, the HR director, and to corporate legal at 11 in the morning. After the email left Rachel's outbox, I felt a strange lightness, like a weight had been shifted from my chest to someone else's hands. I expected fireworks. What came instead was a long, patient silence that gnawed at my bones. That afternoon, when Claire called to tell me about a surprise awards lunch the company was throwing for her team, she sounded proud. They recognized my campaign, she said, voice bright. Pretty crazy, right? Can you believe it? Congratulations, I said. You deserve it. She hummed, distracted. I can't wait to show you the trophy. It was almost funny, if cruelty ever wrapped itself in comedic timing. She was bragging about recognition earned while she was undermining every quiet promise we'd made to each other. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch for hours with the house lights low, watching the clock tick like a metronome. I imagined the next day, Claire's phone buzzing in a meeting, a corporate voicemail saying they needed to speak, the slow sinking look as she realized the luxury of being untouchable had ended. Morning came, and the world moved through its motions. Claire kissed my cheek and left for work, hair coiled in a perfect knot, the same confident stride that had once made me proud. The minute the front door clicked shut, my phone vibrated. It was an unfamiliar number, corporate legal. Mr. Barrett, the voice asked. This is Elise from corporate legal. We received a report regarding potential conduct concerns related to Ms. Barrett. I'm calling to confirm we have the right contact, and to let you know we'll be conducting an internal review. My heart thudded loud enough to hear. Yes, I said. You do. I didn't tell her anything else. Within hours, Claire received a calendar invite for a meeting labeled Personnel Review, Confidential. She left work early, face pale when she walked in. For a terrifying minute, I almost felt guilty. Then I remembered the nights she'd been too busy for me, the words she'd used to justify herself. She went into the study after dinner and closed the door. I could hear muffled voices, Claire's faltering, the measured tone of someone from HR. I poured another drink and sat very still, letting the low hum of the refrigerator keep me company. When she emerged, she looked smaller. The clothes on her body fit the same, but something had unstitched inside her. They said it's a preliminary review, she told me quietly. They want some clarification about a trip and some freelance reporting. I nodded. That sounds standard. She wrapped her arms around herself. Liam, I didn't. Her voice cracked, and for a second, the woman I'd married flickered back. I should have reached out then. I should have asked for the truth. Instead, I watched her like someone watching a play where they already knew the ending. For the rest of the week, corporate called. Emails arrived with requests for documents. Claire answered with rehearsed calm, claiming she'd been at client dinners, that photos were misleading, that the trip was professional. Her coworkers texted her support. Her boss scheduled a follow-up meeting. But the paperwork didn't lie. Each timestamp, each casual comment from Derek, best team night, came together in a precise, undeniable narrative. HR didn't scream or slam doors. They did something worse for Claire. They documented everything. They asked questions that made her fumble. They requested phone logs and receipts that left no room for stories. At night, when she slept fitfully and turned toward me, I pretended to sleep too. Inside, I was cataloging everything. The way she avoided my questions, the way she picked at her food, the way she used the word sorry like a bandage without meaning. I could have served papers then, could have ripped the bandage off in a dramatic public moment. But I'd learned that violence of the immediate is childish. I wanted something more surgical, something that would last. So I did the thing no one saw. I made myself indispensable to the process. I became the steady force behind the scenes. I worked with Rachel and Elise from corporate. not to shame her publicly, but to ensure the company treated this as a breach of professional behavior. I wanted consequences that stripped the gloss off her achievements, that left her standing in a room where the applause had been edited out. And while the corporate engine turned, I planned a private blow she couldn't prepare for, something that would echo, painfully and personally. I would not humiliate her on social media. I would not trap her in a spectacle. I wanted a reckoning that would land where it would hurt the most. Our life together. I began arranging our finances quietly, consulting with an accountant Rachel recommended, preparing paperwork to secure accounts, making sure the house title had correct protections. I booked a lawyer to draft divorce proceedings to be ready the moment I needed them. Not because I was cruel, because I wanted control. Because in the chaos of betrayal, control is the only thing that steadies you. Late one night, as snow began to dust the window panes, Claire sat by the fire and said, "Liam, please, let's talk. I think we can fix this." I looked at her then, really looked, the tremor in her hands, the apology in her eyes. For a heartbeat, I almost forgave. Then I remembered the years of small betrayals that had eroded us, one unnoticed fissure at a time. "No," I said softly. "We can't fix what's been broken in secret." She stared at me, the way a person stares at a verdict. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. I could have shouted. I could have thrown her out. Instead, I coldly outlined what would happen next. An internal investigation, possible disciplinary action, legal consults, and then my own steps. Careful, irrevocable, and final. I said nothing of drama. I said everything about consequence. She sank into the couch, face pale as paper. For the first time since this started, she seemed smaller than the scheme she'd woven. I had no illusions she'd crumble immediately. People like Claire are practiced at bluff and charm, but they aren't practiced at the slow dismantling of the life they thought they could use like a cloak. I'd set the gears in motion. The company would do what companies do, protect themselves, and I would do what I had to do to protect myself. There was one more move left, the one that would change everything. It was quiet, simple, and loaded with finality. I told myself I would wait for the right moment. Then I waited. I wanted the last scene to feel ordinary, because ordinary is the thing she had taken for granted. So I set the table like any other night. White plates, folded napkins, the cheap but reliable wine we only open for anniversaries. I cooked her favorite, simple pasta with basil, because cruelty dressed as comfort always stings sharper. Claire arrived that evening expecting the usual, a cozy night in after a week of corporate drama. She stepped through the door with that practiced smile and a tentative hope she hadn't earned. Her eyes flicked to the table, and then to me. "You didn't have to," she began. "Sit," I said. My voice was calm. I was careful to keep my hands steady. Anger is loud, and I wanted silence to do its work. She sat. We ate in polite silence for a few minutes until the clock nudged the room into a private kind of suspense. Then I stood and walked over to the laptop on the side table. I had prepared something neat and merciless. A short presentation of timelines, photos, receipts, and a few carefully redacted messages. It was not for theatrics. It was a ledger, cold, precise, impossible to argue with. "Before we do anything else," I said, "I invited 2 people over." Claire's eyes narrowed. "Ooh, someone from corporate," I answered, "and someone legal." I turned the laptop. On the screen was Elise from corporate legal, and Rachel, on speaker, both on mute but present. Claire's face went pale. "What is this?" she whispered. "A review," I said. "A full accounting of choices." I clicked the first slide. Photos, timestamps, flight logs lined up with messages. Every piece of evidence we'd gathered sat there like a patient witness. She swallowed. "You can't. This is private," she breathed. "Not anymore." My voice was not cruel. It wasn't triumphant either. It was simply true. Elise unmuted. "Ms. Barrett, after reviewing the materials forwarded to corporate, we have opened a formal investigation." Mr. Barrett was forthcoming and provided additional documentation that corroborates discrepancies in your reported schedule. Her tone was businesslike, precise. Claire's hands trembled. Rachel spoke next. "From a legal standpoint, Mr. Barrett has prepared options should you not cooperate. We recommend confidentiality, Ms. Barrett. There are professional repercussions, internal discipline, potential loss of leadership opportunities, and a formal reprimand." She paused. It's still within the company's discretion, but the facts are clear. Claire moved as if the floor beneath her had given. Liam, please, this was a mistake. Her voice broke and tried to rebuild itself. I didn't want theatrical pleas. I wanted truth. Did you love me, Claire? I asked quietly. She looked up, eyes wet. I don't know. I got lost. That admission was smaller than I expected. Maybe it was the only honest thing she could manage. I reached into the folder beside me and slid another stack across the table. Papers that would end the charade of our marriage. Divorce filings drafted and ready, with contingencies for property and custody laid out cleanly. Financial adjustments I'd legally arranged. I'd secured our accounts, updated protections, and ensured our shared assets were split fairly but decisively. Nothing vindictive, only practical. I had not taken a penny that would hurt her child, but I had removed the safety net she had been using like a trapdoor. When people choose to break vows quietly, I said, they forget the loudness of the consequences. I set the pen beside the papers. Sign these, and we do this quietly. Refuse, and I proceed. It will not be pretty for either of us in the court of public spectacle. She stared at the documents as if at a physical wall. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then the first of the admissions came, small, ragged apologies, explanations that blurred into excuses. Derek's name surfaced, and she tried to pin everything on loneliness and exhaustion and the intoxicating kindness of someone who'd listened. I listened to her stories and heard only the hollow where our life had been. I had wanted her to confront the truth herself, to say his name aloud and mean it. Instead, she clung to phrases that softened sharp things. I thought we could fix it, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I folded the papers like one folds a map, neatly, without theatrics. I don't want destruction, I said. I want honesty. I want safety for what's left of us. My words were not a plea. They were the boundary I need to live by. She signed, shaking. It was not relief I felt when the pen stopped. It was a soft, unexpected peace. The storm I had once imagined would be violent had been replaced by something quieter, the end of pretense. When it was all over, the house felt different. Not emptier, just real. The illusion that had lived here for years had been stripped away, and in that bare space something began to repair inside me. Not vengeance as spectacle, but closure, lawful, measured, and final. Weeks later, the company concluded its review. Claire faced consequences, loss of her promotion and mandatory leave. Derek was moved out of her team. Neither were punished theatrically, but both felt the weight of what they'd risked. I refused the cruel satisfaction of broadcasting it. Instead, I chose another kind of triumph. Mornings were my son and I made pancakes, where honesty replaced the murk of spent excuses. I learned that revenge, sharp as it can feel, tastes hollow if it's not followed by something steadier. Standing in the quiet kitchen one Sunday at dawn, listening to the hum of the kettle, I realized the loudest relief came from walking away with my dignity intact. She had chosen her path. I chose mine. Outside, the world kept moving, indifferent and clean, and I let it.